Ladies and gentlemen, today we live in a world where sharing is second nature. From social media posts to digital conversations, we put our lives out there, often without a second thought. But in this fast-paced, tech-driven world of 2025, knowing what not to share is just as important as knowing what to share. So, let's talk about 7 things you should keep private in 2025. Not because you're hiding something, but because protecting your personal space, identity, and future has never been more important. In 2025, keeping your financial information private is more important than ever. With the rise of sophisticated cyber threats, data breaches, and the increasing use of digital banking and online transactions, even the smallest leak of personal financial details can lead to serious consequences. Something as simple as sharing a screenshot of a paycheck, a bank statement, or even casually mentioning your income or savings on social media can open the door to identity theft, scams, or unwanted judgment and pressure from others. Hackers are constantly evolving, and what might seem like harmless information can be pieced together to compromise your entire financial identity. It's also worth noting that people often make assumptions based on your financial situation, whether it's envy, judgment, or unrealistic expectations, which can create unnecessary strain in relationships, both personal and professional. Even among friends or colleagues, being too open about money matters can lead to tension, comparisons, or competition. Your salary, debt, investments, and spending habits are personal and deserve protection. And it's not just about malicious threats. In a world where everything is shared and archived, something you post today about your finances could come back to affect job opportunities, credit applications, or business partnerships down the road. In this hyper-connected age, it's not just smart, it's essential to guard your financial privacy and only discuss those details with people you trust implicitly or professionals bound by confidentiality. In today's highly connected world, it's incredibly tempting to turn to social media or group chats to vent about relationship problems or share intimate details of your personal life. But in 2025, where digital footprints are practically permanent and private moments can quickly become public, keeping your relationship issues private is more crucial than ever. Broadcasting arguments, disappointments, or frustrations can not only damage the trust between you and your partner, but also invite the opinions of people who may not have your best interests at heart. Friends and followers might take sides, offer unsolicited advice, or make judgments based on incomplete information, which can complicate an already delicate situation. The truth is, most people only see a fraction of the full picture, and their perspectives, no matter how well-intentioned, can add confusion instead of clarity. Furthermore, once you post something online, you lose control over where it goes or who sees it. A single screenshot can circulate far beyond your original audience, potentially embarrassing both you and your partner and creating long-lasting tension that doesn't easily fade. Even in private conversations, constantly discussing your partner's flaws or conflicts can reinforce negative emotions and prevent healing. Relationships are complex and require safe, respectful communication, something that can't always be achieved when too many outside voices are involved. Whether it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, or a family matter, keeping the struggles and sensitive moments within a trusted circle, or better yet, between the people directly involved, can preserve dignity, encourage healthier communication, and protect what matters most, the bond itself. In a culture that often celebrates the idea of speaking it into existence, it can feel empowering to share your future goals and big plans with others, whether it's a career move, a business venture, personal development, or a lifestyle change. However, in 2025, it's becoming increasingly important to be selective and intentional about who you share those ambitions with. While it might seem harmless to talk openly about your dreams, there's a subtle but real risk involved when your vision is exposed too early. People's reactions, whether fueled by jealousy, doubt, or their own insecurities, can introduce negativity that may shake your confidence or derail your momentum. Not everyone will support your journey with genuine enthusiasm, and some may even try to discourage or sabotage your progress, either directly or subtly. Additionally, talking too much about your plans before taking concrete action can create a false sense of accomplishment. It tricks your brain into feeling as though you've already done the work, which can dull your motivation. And in some cases, sharing prematurely opens the door for others to take your ideas or use your strategy before you've had a chance to execute it. In a time where personal branding and digital identity carry so much weight, your plans can become vulnerable to comparison, criticism, or even competition if not carefully guarded. Protecting your goals allows you the mental space to evolve, adapt, and grow without the noise of public opinion. It gives you the freedom to fail quietly, recalibrate without embarrassment, and succeed in your own time, on your own terms. Sharing your results once you've made progress will always speak louder and carry more weight than just talking about what you hope to achieve. In a professional landscape that's more interconnected and digitally exposed than ever before, keeping sensitive work-related matters private has become a crucial aspect of maintaining both your integrity and your job security. With hybrid work environments, remote communication platforms, and casual digital interactions blending into our everyday routines, it's easy to forget where the professional boundaries lie. But discussing confidential projects, internal conflicts, or frustrations about your workplace, whether it's through social media posts, venting in group chats, or even casual conversations, can have serious consequences. Information that seems harmless to you might be considered a breach of confidentiality by your employer or could be misinterpreted by colleagues and clients. Even comments made in a private message or during an offhand conversation can be screenshotted, shared, or taken out of context, potentially damaging your reputation or credibility. Trust is a fragile currency in the workplace, and once it's broken, it's incredibly difficult to rebuild. Moreover, when you openly criticize or reveal too much about your work environment, you may unknowingly create a perception of disloyalty or lack of professionalism, which can affect future opportunities, references, or promotions. It's not just about company policy, it's about protecting your personal brand and the respect you've worked hard to earn. Also, discussing salary negotiations, internal politics, or office dynamics can fuel unnecessary gossip or workplace tension, especially in a competitive job market where alliances and impressions matter. In 2025, where reputations can be built or ruined with a single post, practicing discretion with work-related matters isn't just a smart move, it's a professional necessity that reflects maturity, emotional intelligence, and long-term thinking. In 2025, when nearly every interaction, click and scroll leaves a trace, protecting your digital footprint and online habits is more essential than ever. Most people underestimate just how much of their behavior is being tracked by websites, apps, advertisers, and even third-party data brokers. Every time you like a post, search for a product, or spend time on a certain type of content, algorithms quietly build a profile of who you are, what you believe, and how you behave. This data can influence everything from the ads you see to the prices you're offered, and even the kind of news or job opportunities that are presented to you. What's more, your digital habits can be used by others to form judgments about your personality, values, or lifestyle, sometimes unfairly or inaccurately. The internet doesn't forget, and things you posted or engaged with years ago can resurface in ways you didn't expect, potentially affecting personal relationships, professional prospects, or your credibility in public spaces. It's also important to recognize that in our connected society, curiosity and casual browsing can be misread. Even simple interactions can paint a misleading picture of your intentions or interests. That's why it's critical to take control of your privacy settings, be cautious about what you share, and understand that not everything you do online needs to be part of a public narrative. The more data you give away freely, the more you risk manipulation, misunderstanding, or even exploitation. In a world where digital behavior is often monitored more closely than real-life actions, maintaining some degree of privacy isn't just about security, it's about preserving autonomy, authenticity, and control over your own story. In an age where openness and vulnerability are encouraged, especially online, it might seem empowering to share your health conditions or medical history with the world. And while there's certainly value in building community and raising awareness, it's important to recognize that not every aspect of your health journey needs to be public knowledge. In 2025, where digital profiles often outlive the moments they were created in, sharing too much about your physical or mental health can sometimes have unintended consequences. Employers, insurance companies, and even potential partners may come across that information and, whether fairly or not, allow it to influence their opinions or decisions about you. Despite the growing discourse around health awareness and destigmatization, biases still exist. People might view you as less capable, more fragile, or assume limitations that don't reflect your reality. Furthermore, once you post about a diagnosis or personal struggle, you might find yourself under a spotlight you didn't ask for, subject to unsolicited advice, invasive questions, or even pity that becomes exhausting to manage. Some individuals may overshare as a coping mechanism, but doing so in a space that lacks privacy or sensitivity can lead to emotional burnout, especially if responses aren't supportive or if your words are misunderstood. Medical details are deeply personal, and navigating them should be done on your terms, with people you trust, and in environments where confidentiality is respected. In a world where data is currency and personal stories are often mined for engagement, it's essential to safeguard your health narratives, not out of shame, but out of the wisdom that some parts of your life deserve peace, discretion, and protection from the noise. In a world increasingly driven by visibility, social proof, and online validation, acts of kindness and charity have unfortunately become content for public consumption rather than quiet expressions of compassion. In 2025, where every good deed can be filmed, posted, and tracked for likes, it's more important than ever to remember the value of keeping your generosity private. True kindness doesn't need an audience. While it can be inspiring to share stories of giving or volunteering, constantly publicizing your good deeds can blur the line between selflessness and self-promotion. What begins as an effort to encourage others can easily come across as performative or insincere, especially when the focus shifts from the act itself to the person doing it. People on the receiving end of charity may also feel exposed or reduced to a moment of vulnerability, especially if their faces or stories are shared without full understanding or consent. Privacy in acts of giving protects the dignity of those you help, and it preserves the integrity of your intentions. Not every kind gesture needs to be turned into content or used to build a personal brand. Quiet generosity often has the deepest impact when it's done without expectation, applause, or reward. Whether you're donating, helping a stranger, or supporting a cause, keeping it between you and those directly involved can make the act feel more human, more sincere, and more meaningful. In a digital age where everything is documented, choosing to keep your compassion private is a rare and powerful decision that speaks volumes about your character, even if no one else ever sees it. Family is often one of the most complicated and emotionally charged parts of our lives, and it's only natural to feel the urge to talk about issues that arise within it. But in 2025, when nearly every conversation has the potential to be shared, screenshotted, or misunderstood, keeping family conflicts and personal drama private is a form of emotional intelligence. While venting frustrations online or even with casual acquaintances might bring temporary relief, it rarely leads to healing or resolution. In fact, it can make things worse, escalating tensions, drawing unwanted attention, or damaging relationships that still matter to you deep down. Once personal family matters are out in public, it becomes difficult to pull them back in. People start to form opinions, take sides, or judge without understanding the full complexity of the situation. And even if those posts or comments are deleted later, the impressions they leave behind tend to linger. Moreover, broadcasting family drama may inadvertently expose others who never consented to being part of a public discussion, which can lead to deep and lasting resentment. Family dynamics are sensitive, often built over years of shared history, emotions, and experiences. They deserve to be handled in safe, respectful environments, not in the court of public opinion. Protecting your family's privacy, even when things are hard, shows maturity and a long-term view. It acknowledges that relationships go through seasons, some good, some bad, but airing every dispute or emotional moment can damage bonds that might otherwise be repaired. In a time when oversharing is normalized, choosing to handle family issues privately demonstrates respect not just for your relatives, but for yourself as well. Everyone has a past, and no one goes through life without making mistakes or carrying regrets. In 2025, where storytelling and vulnerability are often encouraged, especially on social media, there's a growing pressure to turn every hardship or wrong turn into a public confession or inspirational post. While there's nothing wrong with owning your journey, not every part of your past needs to be shared with everyone. There's a difference between growth and oversharing, and sometimes putting your past mistakes out into the world can cause more harm than healing. People may say they respect honesty, but in reality, they often judge harshly, even when they pretend not to. Sharing sensitive details about things you regret, especially online, can result in assumptions being made about your character or decisions, no matter how far you've come. It can affect your relationships, your career, and even your self-worth when your past is constantly revisited or brought up by others who don't understand the context or the lessons you've learned. Some people may use your vulnerability against you, while others might subtly distance themselves, unable to separate who you were from who you are now. Your past doesn't define you, but giving it too much visibility can create a shadow that follows you longer than necessary. Choosing to keep certain parts of your history private isn't about shame, it's about protecting the peace and progress you've worked hard to earn. Reflection is powerful when it's personal, and growth doesn't always require an audience. Sometimes the strongest, wisest thing you can do is quietly move forward, letting your present actions speak louder than your past missteps. In an era where productivity is often glorified and there's immense pressure to be constantly achieving, sharing unfinished projects or half-formed ideas can seem like an invitation to show progress and receive encouragement. However, in 2025, it's crucial to recognize the value of keeping certain endeavors to yourself until they are fully developed. When you talk too openly about a project before it's complete, there's a risk of losing the momentum needed to finish it. Sometimes the act of verbalizing an idea can trick your mind into thinking the work is already done, diminishing the drive to follow through. Moreover, the more you talk about an unfinished idea, the more you expose it to external influence, whether that's unsolicited feedback, judgment, or even criticism. People who don't fully understand your vision can often offer advice that either detours you from your original plan or discourages you from pursuing it further. In some cases, others may unintentionally steal or adapt your ideas, leaving you with little room to execute them as you initially intended. By keeping your projects private until they're ready for launch or completion, you maintain a sense of control and personal satisfaction. It allows you to make mistakes without worrying about being judged or evaluated too early in the process. Additionally, protecting your ideas until they're fully formed gives you the freedom to experiment and pivot without the pressure of constantly explaining or defending your choices to others. When you eventually share your work, it will not only be a more polished and refined version of your vision, but you will also feel the fulfillment of seeing it through without the interference or noise of premature exposure.